So, Bigfoot. This guy walking through the woods, looking for Bigfoot.
I'm in the Empire State, New York State. Very excited to be here. Listening to a woodpecker, got squawked at by a squirrel.
Does Hans always hit the gay agenda? He said free Martin, though? Yeah, free Martin isn't on here. Free Martins are not the same thing as Freemasons. They're unrelated. They just sound alike. Free Martins are not Freemasons. And I don't have Free Martin on this. If someone has a bingo card and it says Free Martins, sure.
The terrain is very, very familiar to me.
Link to the card. Hold on. Oh, okay. I understand Baja Blast. Control V. There's the bingo card for you.
It's really nice old growth forest. There's my yoga girl, Sadie. Say hi, Sadie. She's so pretty. And we are here because of this.
Le Poupon with a bit. Han said, notice the Freemason in the background. Did he say that? If you say so, then yeah. If he did say that, then yes. It counts.
This man. This is my friend Kyle. He's the local guy whose shoulders I stand upon.
What does Baja Blasts mean? Baja Blast is my girlfriend who is in the chat sometimes. She is a fourth-year PhD student, and sometimes when she gets frustrated with something happening on the stream that's scientifically illiterate, she will come in the room and blast, let's say, by explaining the actual science behind something.
And he's going to tell us about how
PhD candidate. Did I say student again? Apologies.
He and his father had what I consider to be a very significant Sasquatch encounter. And I'm really convinced after interviewing them, meeting them, speaking with them at length, that I find them very believable. I find their story very familiar from other authentic encounters of my own and other people.
Okay, but doesn't that say to you that it's entirely possible that you're all suffering from almost like a mass hysteria where all of you believe in this thing that is Bigfoot, and therefore when you go into the woods and hear strange noises or see things moving behind trees, you're more likely to attribute those experiences to Bigfoot when you actually have no independent verifiable evidence to the fact that it is indeed some sort of hominid with large feet walking through the forest.
And Kyle, it's 5 years ago?
Yeah, about 5 years ago.
And tell me what happened.
It would be, here's the thing too, Bigfoot would be awesome. If there was any like conspiracy or cryptoid thing I'd want to be real, it would probably be Bigfoot. Because having another hominid species that exists on the earth with us still would be amazing. Imagine how much we could learn not only about ourselves, but about them, how we could learn about, you know, our common ancestry. It would be incredibly interesting. But the evidence just doesn't bear out the idea that they exist out there, unfortunately.
We came here for a hunting trip, just to do something different because, you know, he grew up down the road, so he wanted to come back. So we made a weekend trip to come up, and we had other hunters come in. It was opening day, deer season, and they were from Whitehall, they were saying. So, which is kind of weird because that's a Bigfoot hotspot too in New York. They were making a lot of noise up really early. There was 5 or 6 of them out of a truck, and they were going down the trail, gunshots all over the place. They didn't even get anything, so that kind of scared us. So you know, we work good as a team together. You know, we've hunted together all our lives.
You and your father.
Yeah. So we we figured it best to just try to get away from them. So it was getting dark, and
If it's such a Bigfoot hotspot, why not put up a security camera? Surely at some point, on a long enough time scale, if people are seeing Bigfoot all over the place, just put a motion sensor camera there in the woods, with a solar panel or a battery pack or however those things work, and wait, and eventually you'll capture definitive proof of the existence of Bigfoot.
we decided to try it one more time. They were lost, radioing back and forth, so we just wanted to distance ourselves away from that. So we came up in here off the trail. What is it, 200 yards?
Yes.
And my dad stayed back behind a little bit, and I came in further. And there was an opening, which is either right here or down there or over there somewhere. Fresh snow, there was deer tracks. I was in kind of a little circle of pine or hemlock or spruce, whatever they might have been. And I took a knee and relaxed for a little bit. And then all of a sudden I hear branches breaking. So my first instinct, oh, a deer's coming towards me, or there might be a bear coming towards me, because there's a dump down the road. So there's been a history of bear here, and black bear. If there's young, it's, you know, they're trying to find food, so it might be not a good situation to be in, by myself especially. So I'm hearing these branches breaking, and they keep breaking, and they're big. They're not, you know, they're not like this, where it's deadfall and it's the little snaps. It's like, oh, that didn't even do it. It's big branches. It's 4-inch diameter. Like, I've done.
Okay, bears are large. If it was a bear, the weight of a bear could snap some pretty big branches.
Tree work. I know what it sounds like when a tree hits the ground and it shatters. It makes a big noise. And I kept hearing that and hearing that. And then I heard swooshing the leaves through the air, which I knew right then and there that that wasn't a bear. And me being 17 and scared, I picked up my gun, because I don't know what's coming out of that woods. It's right on the other side of the tree line. I don't know what it is. So I'm white as a ghost, and I got my gun up, and it's making more noises and more breaks and more smashes. I didn't hear any grunting. I didn't hear any breathing. I didn't hear yelling, anything. My dad came up behind me because he heard it.
What does Hans think about this? Because Hans doesn't even believe in bears. So, like, wait, does he believe in bears? I forget Hans' stance on bears. I know he thinks panda bears aren't real. I don't know about brown bears. Does Hans believe in Bigfoot? It seems like the kind of thing you might believe in.
Too. And actually, my heart's pumping a lot right now because I'm kind of back in the same spot.
He has Bigfoot PTSD.
And because he heard it from 50, 60 yards away. So he came running up to make sure I was okay. And it kept going for a little while, and it stopped. And we didn't hear anything, so we got the fuck out of here. And we went up back to the truck, and the parking lot's actually right up there. And I think what was going on is it might have been a Sasquatch trying to show us that he wasn't happy with us being here, because we were a bunch of hunters. We were with a bunch of hunters who were being loud and shooting at random
Dude Spanking Dudes with a Bit says, personally, I think something similar to Nessie could exist, seeing as how vast and unexplored the ocean is. Maybe it's like way down in the sea, I don't know. Well, specifically Nessie's in Loch Ness, which is a loch, not the ocean. And there's certainly not some, you know, giant dinosaur-like thing there. There could be a variety of really cool stuff under the water. We haven't explored a ton of the ocean. There's so much of it still to see. But I don't know. It would depend on what you mean, like Nessie. Like, what do you mean? Like, Nessie's basically supposed to be a dinosaur. There's stuff like giant squids that we've actually found corpses of that are cool. There could be some large aquatic beasts that we don't know of somewhere in the ocean, but not like dinosaur-like, I wouldn't think.
things, being completely unsafe. So I suspected he figured we were with them and wanted us to get out. And it worked, because we left. And this is the first time I've been back in 5 years, and it's only 3 hours away.
How come you haven't come back?
Well, it's been kind of busy when it comes to work and everything like that, and it's hard to devote time to come up here, but it's gorgeous back here. I love it back here, and I have family history here. There's really no reason I shouldn't come back, but my dad and I didn't talk about it for probably a year and a half.
Captain Rachel says, I mean, there's crazy stuff in the ocean, like the fish that has a see-through head that can rotate its eyes in front or above it. I know, there's interesting stuff, but, like, the larger a creature is, the more energy it needs to take in. The biggest creatures in the ocean are, like, whales. And whales are mammals. So, the reason whales are able to get so big and travel so far and be such effective, like, creatures in the ocean is because they're able to come up and get oxygen, which is more efficient in terms of the amount of oxygen that's in the atmosphere as compared to the amount of oxygen that is in the water. So, like, a whale, like a great white whale, a blue whale, whatever, can come up to the surface, get a bunch of oxygen, and, you know, go swimming for a long period of time, go miles and miles and miles without having to come back up. It is so effective in the ocean because it can take advantage of stuff like oxygen, because it is a mammal. At, like, the depths we're talking about, in terms of, like, hidden creatures, where would they get all the energy to get that big? They would literally have to be, like, getting heat energy from, like, some kind of... I don't even know, aquatic vents or something? I don't know. I don't think a creature that's that hidden and that deep in the ocean would be able to get the energy necessary to become something like a Nessie or whatever the heck you want to call it. Volcanic vents. Dude Spanking Dude says, even if he thinks the Bigfoot is real, like, if he thinks it's real, why would he stay where Bigfoot is? That's like begging to die. True.
Until I was like, hey, you know that documentary that Todd Standing put out?
Don't some Mormons think Bigfoot is Cain or something? I've heard that before. I don't know if it's Mormons specifically, but I have heard some people who think that Bigfoot is like Cain.
Oh, you remember that time we were in Long Lake and we heard that, and he's like, yep. And then I somehow managed to get a hold of Todd, and here we are. So
I know there are events where there are certain creatures like tube worms. I'm just saying, like when we think of something like Nessie or like a sea version of that, like we're thinking like a giant mobile creature that's probably like warm-blooded and like has the ability to be a predator towards other species. That would be tough in the deep ocean. In fairness, I'm not like a marine biologist or anything, so I don't know dick about it, but it just seems like to me the energy wouldn't be easy enough for them to get to evolve to that size and to have that sort of behavior that deep in the ocean.
So we're going to do some investigating and see if we can find where it was breaking the branches and spend a couple nights here.
5 years later is hard. This is real natural old growth forests are so...
I gotta look at these creepy vent worms, though.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Thank you, MMO Addicted, for subscribing, and yay, 2 months. Keep rocking on, Hannah. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone who supports the stream. I really appreciate it. It's what allows me to continue to do it. Ooh. Riftia Pachiptila. Nailing it. Makes such a good biologist. Creepy, though. Deep sea creatures. Lots of translucent ones. Obviously, we have the bioluminescent ones. Ugh. Oh, there's a cool one. It's like a pufferfish that's translucent. Creepy. Very, very creepy.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Jouster Zen, look up Big Fin Squid. Big Fin Squid. Oh yeah, these things are disgusting and I hate them. It's so creepy. I don't like it. I don't like it. Look at this. Look at this shit. It's got giant long legs and I want to die. I don't know what it is about, like, having a bunch of, like, long tentacles like that, but it puts me off. I hate it. Have you seen those giant jellyfish, too? Those scare me. Giant jellyfish. I forget the species. But they're, like,
There's nothing funny about the
ginormous.
tools
Look at
of
how big
capitalism.
these things are. These things are scary. That looks like something straight out of mythology. It sure does. These things scare me. I don't want a jellyfish that big touching me. I'm not sure if they're venomous, like some other jellyfishes, but... do not want. Earth is disgusting. I'm glad it's burning. I'm joking, obviously.
There's so much going on with trees falling and breaking and just natural indigenous decay. And his father is an indigenous white guy. He's been out here for his whole life, decades. He
What does an indigenous white guy mean?
could run a skidder, he told me, at 5 years old before he could.
Like he was he like raised indigenous, but he's like a white dude? Is he like a crazy mountain man? Like what?
Ride a bicycle.
Before he could ride a bike. But the man's just got a ton of wilderness experience. And
Forget Bigfoot. I'm interested in the creature that is indigenous white guy. Cut to grainy footage of a guy walking through the woods in a suit and tie. Just a white guy.
in the United States, a very, very impressive skills outdoorsman, knows the wilderness. He never heard anything like it in his whole life. It was giant, heavy primate sound. And both of them are separately telling me the same thing. It's the same, and they're really close, father and son, really, really close family. And their testimony is very powerful to me, very powerful, and I'm really excited to be here. So we've seen some potential Sasquatch tree breaks along the road. I didn't stop for them because I just wanted to get here and do this look around. So we're gonna have a good hard look here, see what kind of evidence we can get, and he's going to be a huge advantage for me, his knowledge and his abilities and skills out here. And then our spiritual little yoga girl, there she is. She's there's our bait.
What do you use for Bigfoot bait? No one's ever seen no one has evidence of a real Bigfoot even existing. So how would you know what it likes to eat?
Hi, Sadie. What are you looking at?
Just looking at the plants and the undergrowth underneath all of the pine needles. Tells a little bit older of a story of the forest. You can kind of connect with it a little bit better when you see what's actually underneath the superficial surface of what's lying here.
And what do you see?
Well, I just squatted down to look. So nothing yet.
Okay. So this is my Sasquatch Sunday video. Upon reflecting a little more, I'm going to make this Adirondack section of my time in New York State a couple different videos. Just because I had that day that we went out just preliminary looking for investigating Kyle's sighting, we found high ground. It's kind of like the anatomy of what Kyle was saying all added up and made sense. He was at low ground, the Sasquatch were at high ground. Didn't find any substantial tracks or breaks just because everything was 5 years, and it's a really healthy old growth forest. Tons of canopy overhead, tons of leaves falling every year. So I didn't find any smoking gun there.
So basically you have an individual's account and nothing else. And as we know from studies, personal accounts are incredibly deceptive, even with mundane things like watching someone steal a car. I mean, that's mundane and like relative to, you know, finding a Bigfoot. I'm talking about, like, if you interview people about things they've seen, they will be incredibly unreliable at the best of times, much less when you're afraid in the woods alone at night and your lizard brain is freaking out and telling you that every noise is some beast coming to take you.
But on day two, what starts happening in day
Honestly, 2020's so fucking weird. If we discovered Bigfoot and Bigfoot was real, that wouldn't even be the weirdest thing that happened this year. So, like, hey, I'll take it.
3, we do start to find evidence. We're going to show right now some evidence that we found, and what happened is I start to see the authenticity and integrity of Kyle, and I start to see this Sadie Clark walking around barefoot, recognizing tubers, showing me crayfish. The woman turns out to be, she's our spiritual connectivity and my empath, but she turns out to be this incredible, honestly, wilderness expert who has serious knowledge and understanding, and she's picking up things that I'm logically deducing based on experience, and she's deducing based on her feelings and the empathic energy.
Oh, God. She's not like you. Is she not like looking at the forest floor for actual signs? She thinks she's like Counselor Troy, and she's empathically feeling how the forest feels? What? No. Wow, Bigfoot people believe in a bunch of woo-woo bullshit? What a shock.
And everything really starts to line up, and I was just, I was so impressed with both of these individuals. It was such a miracle that I got to go out with these two people, and as much as I could shine, they just seemed to match me. And it was an amazing experience working with these two individuals. What a miracle that I was able to find them and work with them. And you're going to see as these videos fluff out, there's probably going to be at least 2 more Sundays of videos from the Adirondacks, ending with, you know, the incredible encounter that we had. So, you know, we'll go through all that, and much respect to New York State. Wow, what a beautiful, beautiful place. And obviously I have to go back there and start keeping doing work. If you are from New York State, which many people are talking about, and I've met Kyle, I have a thing when I can meet somebody and see how they are, and see how, like, Kyle was around for a Sasquatch interaction. You want to see someone's true colors, and so was Sadie.
Allegedly.
You want to see their
You have
real
no
true
evidence
colors?
that actually happened.
Put them in the scariest, craziest situation. Not a bear coming around, not wolves, not a mountain lion, a Sasquatch. And I got to test their mettle, as you'll see in these upcoming videos, and just absolutely outstanding. So we'll see this piece of evidence I'm going to play right now, and then we'll have more videos next week. Lots of stuff coming. I'm doing lots of expeditions. I'm very excited about this year, so stay tuned. Let's keep going. Hi, Sadie.
Hi.
I knew she was going to say that. That's definitely left foot.
Yes, without question.
Now, what?
Wait a minute. You said hello, and she said hi, and you said, I knew she was gonna say that. That's what people say when you say hi.
What you do is what you feel. What you feel. That's your foot and their foot.
Mm-hmm. It is enormous compared to my foot.
Yeah. And what do you feel?
I feel like it is very back-weighted.
Yeah.
Like there is a ton of...
Honestly, if that was an authentic Bigfoot, like, footprint, fucking get your disgusting hippie foot out of the Bigfoot footprint. What the fuck?
like drive with the heel of
Right.
this.
Right.
Yeah. That's exciting.
What?
This is a side note, but she has the exact tattoos. If you asked me what tattoos she had, this is in the general vicinity of what I would have guessed.
Energy. What energy do you feel?
There's like a playfulness. Almost like this was like a little kid playing.
It's an indentation in the soil. There's nothing that you can't know that. What? You know, and let me be clear. Compared to the other things I usually cover, like Flat Earth, or like Hans, who's an absolute awful person, whether he means to or not, this is like innocuous. If you want to go out and spend the day in the woods, put on your sunscreen and go for a hike, and look for an imaginary animal, great, good for you. There are much worse things you could be involved in. Great, like, what a fun hobby, good for you. But, like, do you have to pretend to be psychic and to psychically sense things through your feet? Wiki Feet should have a page on this psychic woman who can divine things via her bare feet.
Playing here doing this.
Yeah.
I don't know too much about like the size of Bigfoot, but this is definitely like
Small.
somebody was standing here playing.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
childhood, because they were standing right here.
So what?
Oh, he's not wearing a shirt in the woods. Okay, I wasn't expecting that. Okay.
What's so cool? One of the things that's so cool about what she just said. So Sadie and I are just new to each other, and what's so cool about what she said is when you walk through areas that have sphagnum moss like this, I learned when I do barefoot that when you're, I mean, I'm a little bigger than normal. I'm abnormally large for my frame because I work out and I eat lots of food like a domesticated human. But it's easier for me.
Domesticated human. Isn't that sort of redundant?
Watching the Sasquatch walk very heel orientated on soft ground like this, it saves me significant energy. And what she just said, it was heel heavy. That's because they walk heel heavy in soft ground like this. You can't do that
On what are you basing that? No one's ever caught footage of a Bigfoot that wasn't blurry, and even that was an admitted hoax. So, on what are you basing the fact that you think you know how big feet walk, much less exist?
hard ground. The impact would damage your body. Because this is, as you can see by the track, it's very absorbing ground.
Is it just like because it's a feature of bipedalism?
So
that could apply to anything that's on 2 feet, though.
they taught me, and when I started doing,
I know that doesn't exactly. It could just be another human. It could be a bear in a specific circumstance, but usually that bears only do that when they're like threatened.
I was like, man, they walk real heel heavy through the sphagnum moss areas, and it's entirely an efficient way to walk, which is so cool because they're the most man-like primate. They're the only bipedal primates on the planet today, and I have so much to learn from them. That was one thing. This is why we stopped here. Wow. So, and the reason we came back here and stopped here is down the trail, there's another tree break pointing the same way, right? It's a small one.
Okay, it could be 2 trees. You're in a forest, so trees naturally die and sort of rot or get structurally unstable over time. One day, or different occasions, the wind started blowing, and both trees, they finally gave and came over. That happens. Or a bear could have done it. Again, bears exist in the woods.
But I said, we gotta go have a look at that. It looks pretty clean. It's really clean. One thing we're
People used to walk toe first before shoes with soles were invented. Yeah, Baja Blast was talking with me about that once.
seeing, this is the Empire State, New York. And it seems that when a tree break happens, the tree splits like this. I'm seeing that similarity. This is the third potential tree break I've seen. It's clean, and it's a year old. How do I know it's a year old? You see those? So this is, I said 2 years a minute ago. I was incorrect. In 2 years, these red will fall off. So that tree was alive 1 year ago. That break is definitely not from this year, so it's been through 1 season. And why would a tree as alive as this, plenty alive, surrounded by trees all over the place, break like that?
Because trees have different ages and different things that are going on with them, so some can age and die and break, or have certain things happen to them so that they fall over when other trees around them don't. If all trees died at the same time and all fell over, the forest would be gone. That's not how trees work.
Hit by lightning. So it's when you find a break, and the number one offensive thing to me, let's say 15 years ago before I started doing this, is like, how do you have that kind of power? They do. So other thing that I'd like to note in my experience, definitively in my experiences, just because that
Definitively.
it's a Sasquatch track doesn't mean it was a Sasquatch. That Sasquatch did it. I took Survivor Man out in an episode of Survivor Man Bigfoot where there was a 3-year-old tree break, and for some reason the Sasquatch will come around their old tree breaks. On the episode of Survivor Man Bigfoot where
What are you basing that idea? No one has ever observed a Bigfoot, a Sasquatch in the wild because we don't even know if they exist. And you're claiming to know their, like, behavior? What?
Where he steps, a Sasquatch steps in a track really deep and he crushes the berries. That tree break was 3 years old at least. I'd seen it there before. And that Sasquatch track was from that day. Why was he walking around the tree breaks? And the answer is I don't know, but they do that. That's a behavior. So
That would be a behavior if it's something you could document, but in order to document it, you would need to observe that behavior, which you have not.
I don't think, in my opinion, my
This guy isn't exactly Jane Goodall.
hypothesis would be that small Sasquatch, that's an 11-inch track from a male. It's wide, heavy, but I don't think he would have the power. I hope at 11 years old, or at 11-inch track, he's probably 9. I don't think he'd have the power. Between 9 and 11 years old, I don't think he'd have the power to do this, but they like to walk around the breaks. But that track looks a season old. This tree is a season old. So maybe his dad came along here, made the break, walked carefully through here. Son came through, you know, happy. Like Sadie just said, happy, having a good time. Look what my dad did. Isn't that cool? Maybe he did the small break over there. That would make sense. Because the other break is what? The tree is like 2.
Or multiple trees broke in the forest, unrelated to anything touching them.
2 inches thick.
Yeah, 2, maybe 2.5.
And this
Nothing
is
funny about the tools
this
of
is 4?
capitalism.
6.
Sick.
Mick Lippy, thank you for subscribing.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think? Say 6 inches?
6 inches.
Ask the lady. She knows.
Expert in that area.
I can't believe I just did that. I never do that stuff. Highly non-scientific, but fun. So we're having lots of fun, and
And hey, you know, again, I'm criticizing this, but at the end of the day, this is harmless. This isn't like Flat Earth. Have your fun, go take your shirt off and hang out with your psychic friends in the woods. I don't care. It's fun for you, and that's great. It's entertainment for me.
now this is just really good evidence. So it's really like to have something come to a fact, you need 3 pieces of evidence. So we have 2 tree breaks in the same direction.
What? Okay, no, that's arbitrary. You can't say for something to be a fact, you need 3 pieces of evidence, and then arbitrarily decide that certain things are evidence that you've seen. Oh, there's a track that I have deduced is Bigfoot. And here are 2 trees. That's evidence. No. The bar for what your claim is relative to the strength of your claim versus the strength of the evidence that you have for that claim. So if you're claiming not only that a Bigfoot exists, but that one was here, right? And that these are evidence of it, the evidence needs to be strongly pointing in that direction in such a way that a multitude of people randomly off the street could come in and look at that evidence and say, yeah, that makes sense. Or someone who's like an expert in a field would be able to come in and say, yeah, that makes sense. But there's no such thing as a Bigfoot expert. So you can't just say, there are 3 things. It takes 3 things for something to be a fact. This is a fact, this is a fact, this is a fact, therefore it's true.
This very likely tree break with a Sasquatch track. Right? What are the odds? You know,
2 of them.
and we were going to walk past. Oh, there's 5 here. You know, Kyle has definitively seen 2 outstanding tracks. The one I just showed you is a smoking gun. I just call that a smoking gun. I mean, look at that.
Put your hand in it for reference.
Yeah. So this is like, look at. That's the way John Benernigel talked about that. The way that it breaks the substrate. Like this won't heal. When someone like me comes along and walks on this, the sphagnum moss can rebound and heal. That's never going to heal. That's destroyed. That's absolutely. Look at the death. That is annihilated. So, and only 1 season, because you see the leaves that are here? That's 1 season. So, you know, toes up in the front.
no offense, but I don't think this guy has the qualifications to look at leaves on the ground, irrespective of the conditions under which they have been for the past year, and determine whether or not it's been a year since those leaves fell. Like, that's going to depend upon, I'd imagine, precipitation, how well the soil drains, like, there's a myriad of factors I can't even imagine that would go into deciphering how long a leaf has been decomposing on the ground, and I very much doubt shirt-off Bigfoot guy happens to have the qualifications to make that determination.
Look at the definition in that. Look at that bust, like power. As a tracker, that's really... There's nothing, there's no other way to explain that. That is a smoking gun Sasquatch track by a very likely Sasquatch tree break. So now we have Sasquatch here 1 year ago. So,
which is a lot earlier, or actually sooner than my experience.
So,
which is 5.
and they're Sasquatch here. Well, they're Sasquatch here. This is beautiful, incredible terrain. They're going to come through here. The Adirondacks are gorgeous. I bet you there's hundreds of reported sightings and thousands that people have never reported. So gorgeous, gorgeous terrain, very abundant here. Showing me about the crayfish, freshwater crayfish. I've seen some snowberries, and just tremendously abundant with life here. So even a longer growing season than what I have. The deer being around here, no elk herds, no brown bears, but definitely an ecological niche. Little squirrels, not big. I haven't seen any big squirrels.
No, there's not too many gray squirrels out here.
Gray squirrels, like the California and Vancouver Island gray squirrels, just little squirrels here. So lots of chipmunks. Fantastic, very cool. So now it's time to get excited.
All right, this guy's fun. He's he's not credible, but he's at least